when you're not speaking, when you're feeling and speaking are two different things. They totally can feel it. And so they're not going to trust you if you are not in alignment, right? So I really work with coming all the way into the body, out of the mind. And then I like to work with people on their purpose. So this relates to your fourth point about something bigger than you. Like we're all here for a big purpose and we all know what it is. It's right there. It's like you don't have to go searching for it or it is actually right there. So I like to help people drop into what that is so that whatever they're doing, they can always tie it back to what, their purpose is. So for me, my life purpose is to alchemize polarities so that all can experience the ecstasy of divine union.
Oh, I love that.
Right. So that's an example of a life purpose that's inspiring, right? It's like, if I can apply that to everything I'm doing, if I can remember that, why I'm really here, what I'm doing, it really helps me to show up more fully, right? So speaking the truth inside, all the time, outside, as much as you possibly can. There's an art to speaking the truth because real truth comes from a place of confession. It's a place of vulnerability. It's not from a place of this is the truth, right? And it does no harm. And we haven't been trained, most of us, to speak at that level of truth. And so a lot of times when I work with people on this piece of speaking their truth, sometimes it's their first time speaking their truth to somebody. So for them, it might be a big deal to stand up and say, oh, you hurt me when this happened. But the deeper truth inside that, you learn to reach as you do the work. The deeper truth might be that that I was actually sitting in something that caused them to yell at me in the first place. The deeper truth is that I have a childhood wound, maybe that that person just triggers because of her characteristic. The deeper truth is that I recognize you in me, and I recognize that, underneath that there is love. So there's various levels of truth. And so I always work with people to speak truth to yourself on the inside, brutal honesty, see where you're covering up, see where you're dodging things, see where you're trying to manipulate things, just see it. But when you're speaking on the outside, it's a training to speak truth on the outside without hurting the other, without, so that's a whole area of exploration that's really, that I love to work with people on.
I love that. I love that. I actually completely agree and have my own practices for that. And I love that you also said, like, you speak the truth, brutal honesty. I sometimes will say, tell one on yourself. Like, be vulnerable and actually tell people what's really underneath your upset. I realize that I'm having a flashback on my high school sweetheart breaking up with me, or, kissing some girl on a truth or dare, and, making that more important than me. Right. Like, oh, I totally get it. I apologize for my emotional reaction. I'm working on it over here. And part of me working on it over here is me telling one on myself, because I'm not perfect. And you can count on me to really keep that in check and to not let a past wound get in the way of our love connection. So I love what you were just saying.
Awesome. That's a really beautiful example of creating real intimacy. And yeah, with our partners, that is definitely where we need to be, because the partner, right, is the one you're is the one that holds the mirror up, right, the strongest.
Right.
So that's a great way to create more intimacy in that partnership. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that you also said that one of the ways to help people be a leader is breath work. So I think this is one of my things too, because of course, you know, from my book titles, you're not going to get that I'm a Tantra sex coach, right? A Tantra educator. And at the heart of Tantra is being in the present moment and bringing together the masculine and the feminine energy within yourself first, doing your self work, which is that inner work, that my work is to be done so I can be a whole and complete person, and then be able to do that dance with another person, right? So there's the white tantra that's all your own work, and then there's the red tantra that's like, okay, let's see. And that's before you even do any sexual connection, right? So what we use in tantric yoga is breath work positions that put you into these ways to contact where in your body you are not connected. So what kind of breath work practice would be an easy thing for the people who have never done breath work and they're like, what, leadership breath work? What's a real quick breath to bring you present to get the people who are talking or listening to us to that first step of being present to be a leader?
Well, the first thing is to recognize you need to take a breath, right?
Isn't that
So,
funny?
so you could tell, you know, when you're excited, scared, triggered, the breath gets very shallow. And so actually the first step is to recognize. And so you can recognize it if you're don't know how to respond to something, or if you realize you're about to totally react and there's a moment of grace where you realize that's not the best way to go. Sometimes, you know, when I want to react, it's like I can't help myself, right? I just got to go there and I watch myself do it and I know how it's all going to play out. Do it anyways. But yeah, so first is recognizing. And then I love just taking 3 deep conscious breaths. So inhaling fully and exhaling at least twice as long as the inhale, just long, slow exhale. And just bring your attention to the breath as you breathe in. So find the places when you're breathing in that haven't had air for a while, right? Find them, bring as much breath as possible. As you exhale all the air out. So again, we want to push out all the stale air, any place that's stagnant. So you can see, you squeeze the navel back and just all the air out. And then again, inhale. So if you do this 3 times, the whole body shifts. And I suddenly have access to a whole new level of intelligence. And therefore, whatever comes out of my mouth is going to be very different than before I did those 3 breaths. So even if you're triggered and in the moment can't do it, you can always, you know, excuse yourself and go to the bathroom and take, you know, a minute to take at least 3 slow, deep breaths or more. So this is really a practice in the moment, anytime you realize that you need that.
I love that. I remember reading Eckhart Tolle's book, The New Earth. And in there, he talks about if a person would just focus on their breathing for an entire year, you will have enlightenment. If you just focus on the breathing, like you were saying, you can't do anything else. When you're focused on breathing, you have to be in the present moment. And that is something that most people don't realize. I sometimes get so surprised when I work with someone and I tell them to take a deep breath and it's so shallow. It's like right up here. I'm like, wait, dude, there's more. There's all the way down there to your pelvis. Like, and then like, how, like, can you hold it? And people are like, I can't hold it a second. So it's always surprising to me. And like I said earlier, I was trained in the theater. So I remember when I first started, and musical theater is one of my passions. I'm a total musical theater geek. So singing and learning how to sing properly was very challenging because I didn't know how to breathe. So my spiritual work started when I was studying theater because I had to learn how to have a full set of lungs all the way down to my pelvis so that I can sing these long lyrical, breaks, know when to take a breath and then start again, or even be on stage and not shout, but have my voice bounce to the back of the theater and hit me back in the face. Most people don't know how to do that because they're not supported by breathing. So it's a very important thing that I think most people don't put enough credit to, which is why I'm really happy that you said, in order to get leadership, breathing. It's like, I hope some people out there, if you don't have a mind-blowing thing going on, like leadership breath.
Right. Well, I used to have to project my voice in a larger room. And every time I did that, I'd have a squeak. It's like, and I thought, I didn't know what that was. It took me a while to, as you said, with the breathing before I could access a voice. My voice can now go as far as I need it to, but it is just by speaking, you can tell if you're connected. You can tell if you're breathing deeply. It's all in the voice if you look for it.
So beautiful, so beautiful. This is reminding me to also plug and tell everybody, it doesn't matter where you start from, but you have to start from where you start. Not, I want to be a leader, right? Whether it's a spiritual leader or like a love leader. In my work, it's love leadership, but it doesn't matter where you start. If you're starting from a place where your breathing is off, then you have to get that managed in order to go to the next step, right? If you're not present, you're not going to be a very good leader, because there's no way that you can really manage just tracking all the people that are in the community and what everybody needs. Not that you have to do it, but a leader is, in my opinion, it's somebody who holds the space for the betterment of all.
Exactly. That's exactly it. You're holding space. And for me to be able to feel so I can feel what's going on in the community, even sitting here, right?
Yes.
There's a field that connects you. And so I can only do that if I'm in my feeling body. And the only way into the feeling body is to breathe. So when I'm breathing and tapped into my feeling body, I can feel what's going on inside of me. And then I work with people to, at the same time, feel what's going on with the group that you're working on. So you have to have, it's both breath, it's dropping into the feeling body and realizing where your attention is. So my attention could be all the way over here, in which case you can't even feel me. Or I have some attention here and some attention on you. I'm including you. Then I can feel what's going on over there. And that informs my intuition. It informs where to go next when I'm working with somebody or when I'm leading somebody. And so it's a very important practice. Yeah.
I love it. Well, I want everyone to know that Kristin is available to support any of you who are interested in bringing spiritual leadership to your community. You can reach out to her. I put it in the description of this Facebook Live. You can reach out to her through her email. And her email address is Kristin Panek, that's KristinPanek at gmail.com, kristinpanek@gmail.com. Her book that we're talking about today is Authentic Leadership, the guide to be a spiritual leader in your community. She has a second book. Oh, and there she is. Hold on. Let me put this up back on. Yes, there it is. And what a beautiful cover. My goodness. I don't know about all of you, but I love bright pink. As a matter of fact, my new book cover has bright pink lips. So I'm usually like wearing some bright pink lipstick and stuff. But thank you for writing this book, Kristin, and thank you for supporting people. I think now more than ever, we are going to need a spiritual army of spiritual leaders to and I think in a divine feminine way, like all points of contact instead of just one, right? Like we're going out of having one person be the leader of everybody and everybody being responsible and leader of their own lives, and therefore everybody's taken care of.
That's right.
So
That's right. Everybody can be a leader in their area. And that's one of the things we work with, is really looking at what gifts you bring, because all of us have a gift to bring. And if you're listening, there's a way to tap into what that is and offer that in a way that you're leading your part of the world here. Because yeah, we absolutely all need to show up as leaders right now. We're creating a new world in a way. And so each of our pieces are needed for that.
awesome. Are you doing anything to launch the 2021 year with your work? Are you taking a new class through? Anything you want to tell anybody? I know that I'm going to be doing a whole new class starting January that I'm going to be telling everybody about. Do you have something like that as well?
Yes, I have. I'm taking a group through my leadership course, my 8-week leadership intensive starting in late January. So I want to be a part of that, get some real how to integrate this into your life
Great.
support.
And are you doing discovery calls with people? If they send you an email that they're interested in your spiritual leadership, can they contact you via email and set up a time to call?
Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, we'll set up a call and see if it's a fit for you or what would be a fit for you. So.
And do you usually work with like spiritual leaders, like heads of spiritual organizations? So if somebody's listening or watching us and they think, oh, you know what, I have, a pastor at my church, or, this person in my community is doing this nonprofit work. Is that the kind of person that you're working with? What is that person?
I do work with them, and I work with people who know they want to step into it, but don't think they have the skills or don't quite know how to do it. So I work with both people who are in leadership to take it to the next level and those wanting to step in and trying to figure out how best to do that.
Amazing. Well, thank you again for doing
Yeah.
the work that you're doing. And thanks for having this conversation with me. I know that it has made a lot of difference for me already, putting all these pieces together. And I just think you're amazing. And leadership is such an important topic, in my opinion. Going into 2021, it's such an important topic. People, whether you're doing it for your relationship and intimacy, love leadership, or you're doing it for spiritual leadership, we all have a responsibility to come out of this pandemic and what we've been going through, to pick up the baton and say, I'm going to do my part and not just leave it up to someone else or a government or, people who we want to complain about. Let's do it ourselves.
Absolutely. And I love that the way that you are supporting people in relationship to show up in this authentic way. So it's been a real treat to talk to you about that.
Thank you. Well, I always say that I try to help people find God in the bedroom because, frankly, we all got here from having sex. And it's such an important aspect of the human experience. I don't want anybody to leave it out because it's really one of the really important things about being a human being. So I love that as well. I got a bell ringing, so that means this call has got to be over. Thank you again. And I think everybody knows everything's in the contact. And
Yep.
Thank you again. We'll talk to you
Thank you,
soon.
Sequoia.
You're welcome.
All right.